welcome to your Daily Game Face. I am Dr. Kim Lannon here this week with Lou.
You're a lot more cheerful than you were
Well, I was just
10 seconds ago.
I was thinking about that you were going to say than last week, but yes, within 10 seconds ago, because I had to put my game face on. I'm good at this.
We should do a pre-show. Live pre-show.
What we're like before?
Yeah.
And what we're like during.
Yeah, exactly.
Uh-huh. This is what shows are about.
That's right.
It's the facade.
Open the curtain.
Yeah.
Right.
What do you want to tell people about what was pre-show? Tell them. Go ahead.
Nothing.
Out it.
We're just settling in. We're all settling in.
Mm-hmm. I have no shame saying
You're cold.
It's freaking freezing in the studio, and I'm screaming to the what is he?
Kevin.
I know, but I know he's Kevin, but
he's second in command. He's right in there.
I'm screaming into a soundproof room across the hall to tell him to turn the heat up, and he can't hear me.
See, Kevin's an IT guy, so he takes all this stuff on, and he's got like the temperature control on his phone. So he
Kevin!
See, I wouldn't do that.
What, yell?
No, get the temperature control on my phone.
Oh.
And people will be contacting me 24/7.
Well, as soon as he walks out the door, and although I'm in the middle of the show, I'm stopping him because I'm going to see him. I'm going to like, Kevin.
I know.
Oh, yes.
I know.
I'm going to say, it's freezing in here, and he's going to laugh at me.
Yep.
Then next week I'll complain that it's too hot.
Yep.
But it is. And the allergies.
Allergies, yeah.
Allergies. So all my complaints. But yes, pre-show was funny.
Yep.
Because we are entertained.
Yeah.
Yes. And
because the facade is down.
Because the presentation, I present well, right? After I walk in, I'm the more normal, real me with you.
There's the behind the curtain world, and there's the open curtain world. It's a good thing, though.
I know. It's not that much different, truly.
Oh, okay.
Okay, Lou.
Yeah.
Really?
Yep.
Okay. Well, moving along.
Yeah.
I thought you were actually going to say that I was in a much better mood than I was last week.
Well, you shouldn't have been in a good mood last week.
I wasn't.
Yeah.
And I'm still sort of in that funk.
Sure.
You know? And then I'm looking at my 22-year-old last night.
Yeah.
Because as an aside, all of a sudden we're sitting there watching, by the way, Netflix, The Burrows.
Oh, okay.
Okay, we're watching this.
Just saw a promo for that.
Okay, so really weird, bizarre, but great cast, awesome show.
So Stranger Things producers.
Yeah, but it's like a adult version of Stranger Things, but it's super cool. It was very good. I saw the whole 2 days, binged the whole thing.
May try it.
It was good. However, so I have cats, as we know. I have cats. The cats are never not like underfoot or on top of you or somewhere like I love you, right?
Feed me.
No, not feed me. Not my cats. My cats don't do that. Well, Bean does because he has a obesity problem, but nonetheless. And for the longest time there were no cats around. And John said, and I mark, and he's probably gonna be listening. John says, no cats. And so I said, is the door shut? Because we grilled last night. He says, oh yes, the door's shut. Now, my normal me would have gotten up and gone and checked the door.
Of course.
Because the normal me would have said, John is lying, not on purpose, but he's lying because he doesn't know. He's just too lazy, which he's not lazy, but to get up and check.
I get you.
You know what I'm saying.
Yep.
But I was too involved with the Burrows. So an hour goes by, and Ash, my 1.5-year-old, comes bouncing in to the living room and chattering. And I'm like, but he seems weird. He seems too happy in a different kind of way. And I'm like,
do you bring a mouse?
No. And so I all of a sudden get up and I'm like, and I lost my mind because it's 9:40. The screen door's open to the deck and no cats.
Yeah, well.
No, not well. Have you seen my backyard? It's loaded with Fisher cats, coyote, bear, raccoon, deer,
got
bobcat.
A bear?
We do on occasion has bear go through. And I lost it. So when I lost it and I screamed, oh my God, the door's open, because I had my moment of breakdown. I then ran upstairs because my 22-year-old should be on the bed at that time of night. And I scared her and woke her up, which I thought I was going to send her into a heart attack. So for the next 3 hours, I watched her with a head tilt to the left, shaking, but we finally figured out it might have been just an itch in her ear. But I thought I had given her a stroke. So yes, that was so. My worry went from that last week. Kevin, I'm live. I'm freezing in this room. Is there any way you can fix it?
Yes. Or just turn it down.
No, I want you to turn it up. I'm freezing. Thank you. Just a teeny bit. Thanks, Kevin.
I threw you under the bus, Kevin.
I was yelling for you, Kevin, but you didn't hear me. Okay. Wild beginnings of the show this morning. So anyway, going back. Thanks, Kevin. Kevin's the new character on the Your Daily Gameface show. So here I am coming off of last week, and then my 22-year-old, I'm worried about sending into a heart attack laying on the bed because I screamed because I was like, echo, and I woke her up, and then she started twitching. I'm like,
could have gone into the room just to see instead of screaming.
I was reactive. I was not responsive. I did not say I was perfect. I said that I'm in practice all the time. It's my journey like everybody else's. But
so how many cats were outside?
3.
They all come in? Call for them?
Well, I screamed, ran down the stairs, went out the back, front, came around. Bean, my big boy, was sitting on top of the stairs at the back deck looking at me like, huh. And then he got scared because he was like, oh my God, the crazy lady's coming. And he ran in and then.
Looking at you like, what?
Yeah. And then Ash was already out and then come back in. So that's how I figured out because he was acting weird. That's what signaled me. And then Cinder kind of bounced on in from God knows where. But they're not outdoor cats. We don't go outside. So.
Well, they had a nice outing.
Oh, they did. I'm very glad that nothing happened to them because that would have made for another really bad week. So.
Oh, God.
Anyway, so my today is actually okay. It's 85 degrees out. It's 12 degrees in here. And it's awesome. Oh, good Lord. And we are in front of the screen.
Yes.
With our game face on.
That's right.
All right. So today's topic, as we rise into the latter part of May, into the 6-month moment of the year, right? Because we're rising and people are using the technique. Resetting your mindset and improving how you relate to others. That's the topic of the day, right? So resetting your mindset and improving how you relate to others. And people often think you have to become this like different person, but it's more about building. Now I'm itching. Play by play, people. It's more about becoming not a different person, but becoming like a better pattern of attention, a better communicator, which is not the same thing as just people think being a better communicator means being just blunt. Blunt is good. I like blunt, but also it's not really being blunt. It's about being able to communicate correctly and effectively so that you have good self-awareness and you're trying to get your needs met without violating other people's boundaries or being mean or emotionally neglectful or abusive or all those things. So really talking about how to rise to your moment to be your best self, right? In how you relate to others. And that could be just every person on the street. It could be your people at work. It could be your people that you're related to. It could be anybody, but it's really about building a better pattern of attention, communication, and self-awareness. How does that sound?
Sounds good.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
I think it's about changing your approach to your initial perspective on what you're dealing with.
Wow, you are like reading my mind today.
Okay,
are you a psychic?
No.
Wow, you haven't even seen my notes.
Don't be sarcastic.
No, I'm not. I'm not being sarcastic. I'm being serious. That was so weird because my first.
No, in another job, I was training somebody this week, and I told them, "You're going to have issues. Just come into work knowing you're going to have issues, and just take it. Just have a perspective on it.
Well, that's.
Don't dread the issues. Just,
Well, so it's so dreading the issues, if we put it in your context, in my first point is protecting yourself. When you dread the issues, you're just protecting yourself. Right. That's the defense, right? Instead of moving into understanding the reality of the situation. So you made my first point, but you said it in a different way. So it's how do you reset the mindset about relating? It's moving from defense or protecting yourself from whatever the situation is or whatever, you're perceiving it as, to understanding the reality of the situation. And that comes from not being screaming on the back deck and it comes from responding.
Okay, the cats are out. Let's go collect them calmly.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's kind of hard. But anyway, so a lot of unhealthy communication comes from automatic reactions. He's screaming on the back deck. It couldn't be any more perfect, right? So when we have so I had this conversation with a couple people this week already in teaching, because people are following along with the RISE program that I'm doing, right? So assumptions are reactive, right? Assuming somebody's intent, assuming someone's thoughts, assuming someone's opinion, whatever it is the assumption gets you the reaction. So that unhealthy communication that you give back is going to come from assuming intent. Defending too quickly, right? Needing to be right, the right fight. People are often in the right fight and making it really hard for communication.
They'd rather be right than right.
Exactly. Than correct or to be okay, right? People like to avoid discomfort. So avoidance, right? The avoidance dismissive type of communication, which happens with a lot of people. They get into that pattern of attachment, which is a whole nother show about avoidant dismissive and fearful dismissive people. Expecting rejection. People expect rejection a lot because that's how they're raised, and they expect that that's what's going to happen. That's
huge.
Yes. And then over explaining or shutting down is another communication problem. Right. So people do one or the other. So that first thing about understanding the reality is really having a healthier mindset that starts with replacing how do I win this, or because we don't actively say how do I win. It's just like an automatic reaction, right? It's that list I just gave. It's all those things that come up really quickly.
Oh, worse, you're going in, how do I survive? You're going in with an Eeyore attitude.
Right. You're going into
this is going to be horrible.
Right.
No, what happens is you create it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You totally create it without even sometimes, well, not even sometimes, without realizing it much of the time, because you're so on default and automatic. So instead of going in with how do I win, or how do I control this, or how do I, avoid this or dismiss this or defend this, maybe having a better, more healthy question, which is what's actually happening here? I know it sounds like, wow, that seems too easy. That seems, or for some people, one person said, that's too hard. Okay. Asking the question, what is actually happening here, and stepping it back is such a good shift in the way of communicating with someone, because it gives you a pause. Remember the show I did a while back on the rise of being a pause? The shift in the emotional space is what happens.
And it also gives you control over the interaction.
Right. Because the pause, the first piece of that is you're pausing before you're responding. I just keep thinking in my head about me flipping out last night about, oh my God, the door is open. I did not pause. I should have paused, but nonetheless, it wasn't communicating.
John, can you help me collect the cats, please?
Yeah, that wasn't going to come out of my mouth last night. That was John, as John would put it. I need a plane ticket to somewhere quickly.
He's on the phone with American Airlines.
Mm-hmm. That's usually what he says. He's like, I better find a ticket. So my words to him, by the way, as an aside, when I left and pulled out of the driveway this morning, I screamed through the garage door, don't leave any doors open.
Yeah.
There's my communication for this morning.
Yep. Well, you controlled the situation.
I did. So, because what is actually happening here?
Yeah.
I have so many things I can say.
Yeah.
I know what's happening here. We're not thinking.
But on a day-to-day basis, once you learn this trick, it's amazing how you turn people and you turn the situation. Because so many people are so defensive all the time and expect rough interaction.
Because that's what they've been trained to do, because that's what they've been raised in and the environment around them is. Yeah, go ahead.
You give them a little respect and a little pause and a little help, and it's like they respond unbelievably.
Well, that's the thing is, if you say, what is happening here in your head? What is really happening here? Or in many cases is what is needed here.
Yep.
Right. What is needed here? Then you can ask yourself, what could this mean? Like it's really, it's very fast. It's just as fast to process this if you get used to it as it is to do the other thing. You're just not used to doing it. Right. Yep. It's like, what could this mean? And you separate your interpretation from fact.
Yeah.
Right. So clearly my example about last night isn't going to work in this, because that's a behavioral thing in this particular thing. But in general, communication, for relationally, to rise in this is really about fact from interpretation and presumption and assumption. What are the facts? Only the facts. And it came down to a couple of conversations I had this week already with clients about when you were in that conversation or when you were in that moment, did you think about what that person was really needing? Right? Instead, we all do this, right? We get into our own spaces of us in that moment, not what the other person needs or what the situation needs. It's about,
because most interactions and negotiations on some level.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. So it's about really figuring out the facts of the moment and what is needed here. What is that other person looking for, maybe? And if we don't know, we don't suppose it, we don't interpret it. We actually have to find out what is needed. So we have to stop treating our uncomfortability with reactions, right? My screen in the back what is that? Oh, it's birds.
Two birds.
Okay. So stop treating our uncomfortability in that moment with reactions and as if we're in danger, right? Like someone's trying to manipulate us, could be, or someone's trying to get one over us, could be. Someone's trying to be passive aggressive with us, or is being passive aggressive with us. Doesn't mean they're trying. It could be really clear that the facts are that they are, but that still would account for what is needed here, because there's a reason why that person's doing that.
Right.
And so it's like, okay, and we don't have to fix that for that person, but we have to be able to communicate correctly in order to get to the core of what is needed in that moment of that moment, so that we can rise out of it. We don't want to, the whole thing is actually to rise above and rise through these things and not end up perpetuating them.
Right.
So growth in relationships and communication often begins when you stop reacting instantly. I don't say a word. That's why I used it as the example, because I was like, this is such a prime example, right?
Yeah.
But I still, I don't think I would have changed that last night. But nonetheless, do as I say, not as I do.
Well,
at least I'm honest,
None of this is linear.
That's right. It has moments of
good moments and bad moments.
That's right.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So learning one communication skill at a time, that is huge. And people feel like, oh my gosh, this is so much work. People get such a complaint about how much work it takes to do things, but don't realize, again, how much work it took you to get to where you are to get that. Yeah. So you practiced all that bullshit, for lack of better terms, and to be blunt, I'm communicating. It's bullshit. You practice bullshit to get where you are, so that you got yourself in the predicament to be in that space. And now it's like, okay, now what do I do? Well, you have to unlearn it. And again, not going to be perfect. So you learn one communication skill at a time. Trying to be better socially, right? All at once usually fails. That's like trying to lose all the weight at once, right? It's not going to work like that. So it's like when I teach in my class, active listening, basic skill. People do not listen.
Yep.
Is the door shut? Most people listen to speak and not listen to hear. Right. I will repeat that. Most people listen to speak and not listen to hear. When I was back in the day of acting classes and acting school in New York City, we used to talk about A actors versus B actors.
Okay.
And you are familiar with this probably, right? An A actor, Meryl Streep, for instance, she listens to hear and respond, which is why it's so realistic, why it's her characters are so rich and wonderful. Think of actors that that, right? That's an A actor. That's a person who's actively listening, even though it's dialogue that's written. You would think it was so natural, because why? It's not because they're just so good at acting, which they are, but they're good at the listening of actually embracing the whole message that's coming from the other person, who's also just as enriched in their active listening skills and delivery. And that's what helps in that communication space.
Yep.
B acting,
as opposed to just waiting for your line to come up.
And that's B acting. And that's what people do. Yep. People in life are very largely B actors. Mm-hmm. Sometimes C actors, right? They listen to just speak. They're not hearing what you're saying. They're not hearing the content. They're not hearing context. They're not hearing feeling. They're hearing what they want to hear, what they're filtering, what they're censoring, what their response is going to be. They're already ready,
right?
Because they're not actively listening. So it's really important that People listen to hear, not listen to speak. Such an important thing. And just in that one skill alone, you can rise your communication level with people so intensely, because then you become a connected person, and you really get what that person's saying, because you're actually listening for what they are saying.
Right.
And then you can pick up facts. What do they need? Because usually people say it in what they say. They're not saying it, right? Let people finish. People interrupt constantly, halfway through, or people second guess or triple guess what you're going to say, or, oh, I already knew what you're going to say.
Right.
People fight about that. They'll say, I knew what you were going to say, so I already said it. Or they'll be in relationships have this a lot. People are like getting into something and whatever, and the person's like, I know, got it.
Yeah.
It's like, no, now you're dismissing a person. You didn't hear the whole thing, even though you might be right, but you have to hear the whole thing out, because oftentimes you will miss a piece. There's something there that you need to hear. But people are so impatient and so intolerant and so uncomfortable with sitting with angst or worry about being defensive about maybe being accused of something or leaving the door open. He's not listening today. It's amazing. Usually he's listening.
I know. Waiting for the comment.
I know, me too. And so it's such an important piece about letting people finish, and also reflecting back what you hear. So instead of saying like, yeah, I know, like the push off, right?
Yep.
So you're saying you felt ignored. You're saying you didn't feel heard. You didn't feel listened to. You didn't understand. You're saying that I didn't understand what happened. It's so easy, and it's such a basic Psych 101 kind of skill, but it changes the dynamic of a relationship to make it actually flourish and evolve. There's your evolution and growth, because this one skill alone can change a relationship dramatically without any other communication skill.
Absolutely.
That's all you have to do, is
because it's rare.
So
someone
rare.
Who hears you.
Right. Someone who actually hears you. People will say, I have to listen to understand. This is a big pop psychology, like, self-help book read kind of like concept. You have to listen to understand someone first before you try to have them understand you. It's such gobbledygook in terms of like the words in that, because if you don't apply what that means, which is essentially what I'm saying, it doesn't do anything. It sounds good. It sounds wonderful. But the problem is that people don't apply it. And so at the end of the day, you have to be able to really say, I heard what you said. And this is what I think I heard you say, because I don't know, because we often will censor out information and be like, nope, we didn't get that. And that happens a lot too. If
communication is not strong, it's not clear.
Right. And so if you think that you've gotten it right, you validate, like, I hear that you felt ignored. I hear that you felt dismissed. I hear that I ran you over with my conversation or whatever. I
yelled at you and let the door open.
Thanks, Lou. Yes, I did say that to him. I said, I'm sorry that I yelled at you.
Oh, good for you.
Well, in my head I did. I might not have said it out loud.
Oh, yeah.
Nonetheless. But when you ask a follow-up question, that is where you get good clarification in your active listening. So if you don't think you've got the message, if you don't think, so the question I kept asking people this week when they were telling me stories about their communication, I said, did you ever ask the person what they needed? As a default question, I get people to say, what is it that you actually are needing from me? Because that's usually the thing. It's usually the person on the other side is asking for something, but they're not actually asking for it. They're telling you about what happened, what it feels like, and at the end of it, if you say, I hear that you felt unheard, or I hear that you felt dismissed or hurt, or whatever it is, and if you still don't feel like you've gotten it right, or they're giving you feedback like, no, you're not understanding, you say, what is it that you are looking for or need from me?
Yeah.
That's a great question in active listening, because you have missed it somewhere.
It's a good skill to be able to do that, not necessarily with the direct question, but do that in the tone and the structure of your discussion with them.
Exactly.
Trying to find out what they need.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And hopefully, so in pretty good relationships, or at least have good foundational, the lumber's been laid kind of thing, a person will be able to say, well, I need a hug, or I need you to tell me that you understand, and that's not going to happen again. Whatever it is, they'll be able to tell you. If you're in a really not so great relationship, or you've gotten so far past good communication skills, you sometimes have to come back from like conversations with people that end up with responses like, I shouldn't have to tell you what I need. Right?
I need you not to be an idiot.
I need you not to be an idiot. I need you not to leave the door open. Things like that.
Oh, that's specific. That's fine.
Right.
You do need them not to leave the door open.
I do need that. And I did say that. So what a great example I didn't even I had this all prepped yesterday and didn't even know he was going to do that. Yeah. But it's about being able to own something in yourself, to say, oh, when I get that kind of conversation back, I might have to figure out what that person needs by asking more questions, not just saying forget it. Because a lot of people will give up, because if people are already in the defense dismissive mode, or which most people are, or they're uncomfortable, they'll just say forget it, or they'll pacify the person by pretending like they get it, only to repeat the thing, or only to have the same problem pop up again, right?
And often people are locked more into their own needs, into what the person that's speaking with needs.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, that's why we're so.
And that's understandable to an extent.
Well, because we're very self-involved.
Well, yeah.
And so we take care of number one first, and then anybody else after. And that's what happens, unfortunately, even though people will say, no, I take care of other people first. No, watch your communication patterns.
But they're not mutually exclusive.
That's right. Yeah. And so if you watch your communication pattern, you will, if you stay really aware and you're trying to build it and grow, like I said at the beginning of the topic, you will find your areas of fault, or, and not saying you're at fault, but the faulty areas, the weak spots, the areas where you could
ineffective areas,
right? The growth edges where you have to really work on it being better. That's taking assumptions out. It's not accusing. It's, I said to someone, like, if you feel like you have to point at someone and you feel like you have to say that's a problem, like, that we have to take back.
Accusation is good because people accuse covertly.
Yes.
You interact with the person, you assume they're going to be a problem. Exactly. You're accusing them of being a problem, and they may not be a problem yet.
Right, because you haven't assessed.
Just your attitude towards the conversation created the problem.
Well, and that's such an important point. Attitudes toward conversations of resolve are sometimes the biggest problem.
Yep.
Because people don't know how to do resolve, because they don't bother to stay in the conversation long enough, because they're too uncomfortable to stay in it to even have at the start of it. Therefore, they create a bad mojo going into it right out of the gate, which, they have a presumption already that this conversation is going to go bad. So they set it up as a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Well, one of my favorite sayings, and it's human nature, is my personality is who I am. My attitude largely depends on who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you're creating the attitude that you're getting to a large degree.
Exactly.
I mean, some people are combative. That's the way they are.
But. Exactly. And they're combative, and to a fault of their own, but also to no fault of their own, because they've been trained to do that. People train you how to treat them, right? So they've also, that person that's combative was trained how to do that because they were combated at.
And that can be unlocked so easily.
It can be, but people have to be willing to do it. It's just like anything in psychology, or anything that's like emotional, right? Is that it's about doing the work, and people don't like to do the work, unfortunately.
But you give them a hint. If you're interactive, if you're a customer base or at work,
right,
you give a positive response, you reach out, and after a while, the person really open up to you.
Exactly.
Because they know that they're not in a combat when they interact with you.
Because then it feels safe. It feels like you can be vulnerably open, and someone's not going to attack you. And so when people talk about, like, I'm not emotionally safe here, and then you get the roll of the eyes, that's a poor communications established dynamic.
This person will help me get something done. Right. Or won't fight me to get something done.
Exactly. Yeah. It's about like, oh, I get you, right? Yeah. I'm able to do that. So moving along to the next skill so that I can add it on is part of that, is like what you're talking about. It's clear expression. Now, going to the blunt piece, sometimes people think that, and I won't call out the name of the person that did this to me growing up, but I learned very quickly growing up that, and I think that this person actually learned this different skill from a one-time therapy moment. I think that's how it came from. And it's a terrible skill. They were a yeller. And they were accusatory and just rough.
Yeah.
And somewhere along the line, at some point, after getting feedback over and over from me to them, this long time ago, I think they must have had a conversation with someone, and what the person must have told them, and I see this in my practice a lot, so that it registers with me a lot, is that it's my skill is called clear expression. But clear expression is not looking at someone and saying like, I'm not yelling at you, I'm just stating the truth. So telling someone that they're fat, or telling someone bluntly that it's something like rude or disrespectful, just because you're not yelling, or just because you're not saying something in a derogatory way, but it might be fact, is not how you talk to people with clear expression. If you look at someone and say, you're being passive aggressive, you're being mean, you right?
Yep.
Just because you're not yelling it does not mean anything. It means that you just stopped yelling it. You're just now being blunt. So blunt is fine, but it's how you are blunt. And blunt in this skill set is clear expression. Are you able to say like, hey, I would never look at any of my patients and say, you're fat. That's ridiculous. But I would say, we have to really look at how much you're eating and what's going on, because you're having joint issues, and because you're holding weight on your knees, and like it's not people like us dancing around it. I'm trying to preserve mental capacity in a person so that they're willing and motivated to do something, not annihilated emotionally. So then they're so defeated that then they go collapse on themselves.
Certain terms of judgmental.
Right.
Judgmental
exactly.
is a negative
Fat
response.
Shaming, right? Yeah. Or saying someone's stupid. That's not clear expression. Did you think that one through? I mean, obviously, people have funny moments. I was just thinking about my niece, and she and I have this thing that goes back and forth, because sometimes we talk about brain cells rubbing together, but it's just a funny joke. But right. But it's about, there's humor in that, because it's a relationship based on funny, right? Yeah. But clear expression, when you're having a serious conversation, is direct without aggressive words, violent words, hurtful words. It's direct with like looking at someone saying, you never care. It's inaccurate. It's inaccurate, right? What you say is, I feel dismissed when that happened. I feel unheard and hurt when that happens. Not, you don't care, you don't love me, you don't want me. Like those are not clear expressions. It's, I feel hurt when I get dismissed, when I'm not listened to, or I feel unheard. It hurts me. That is a very different way, but it takes work, and people don't like to do that. It's so much easier to look at someone and say, I feel unheard, you hate me, and I don't like you. Right? That's what happens, doesn't it?
Well, the fat thing is a clear example, because if someone is struggling with their weight, when they hear the term fat, they've heard the term fat all their life, and it's always been derisive, and it's always been an attack.
Right, exactly.
So they're never going to respond to that term well.
Right. It's demotivating.
Right.
Fat, when people are fat, called fat, stupid, lazy. Yep. I'm thinking of the words like that people use. Like, that's not motivating. And also, when you're accusatory, you are, old school psych. It's about going back to, I think, I feel, I need, and using those correctly. It's, I need you to keep the door shut. I feel hurt when you don't listen. There's nothing wrong with, I feel hurt when you don't listen. That's not accusing anyone. Is that if you're not feeling good when you're not being listened to.
Yeah.
I think is not the same as I feel. Feeling is a feeling word. Right. I feel hurt. I feel sad. I feel happy. I feel excited. I feel, wronged. I think this isn't working in this conversation is not the same as I feel. And people flip them a lot. They'll be like, I think that you feel that I think that. That's how many conversations you've had like that?
I think is judgmental and accusatory.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I feel is just, I'm reacting to this.
Right.
Tell me where I'm wrong.
Right. It's I feel hurt. And when you have someone say to you, you shouldn't feel hurt, that's not good communication.
Yeah.
Right. Because now you've got the
criticizing you for your feelings.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. So
don't be so sensitive.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, because, well, and then that turns into that's a gaslight.
Yep.
Like when someone says how they feel, and then you turn it on them and say, you don't feel that way, or I've heard this a few times over my lifetime in client and in personal life is, oh, I don't believe that you feel that way. Someone must have told you that you feel that way.
Oh God, really?
Oh yeah. I'm like, wow. I see parents do that to their kids sometimes. Not as much as I used to, but I do. It's like, because in the parents' mind,
your kids,
they can't think that their child, that's a narcissistic family, right?
Yeah.
They can't think that their child would actually feel a certain way because they don't feel that way. So therefore it can't possibly exist in the world. So someone must have, an interloper must have told them how to feel that way.
Your aunt told you to feel that way.
Exactly. Somebody else told
another
them.
rivalry.
Right, exactly. Or something.
Or your
like,
friend who they don't like.
Who they don't like. Somebody that's in the way of their relationship with you. It's a communication blocker, right?
Yep.
It's a person that they feel that way. So very much about the skill in this is clear expression. That means that you're not blunt and mean and aggressive. It means that you're direct without aggression. You're direct of what is it that you need. I'm hearing that you want me to stay present, but I'm not sure if you really don't. Do you not want me to go out tonight? Do you want me to stay here? Like, It's about asking the right questions without feeling defensive, which is really hard, which then leads to emotional regulation. Mm-hmm. Which they all go together at the same time, right? It's not like they're stepwise. It's like they're all happening at the same time.
Right.
But these are just the pieces of it in terms of being able to rise out of this stuff. Emotional regulation, not so much last night. I'm using my example. I was not emotionally regulated, but I was emotionally regulated really quickly when I found the cats.
Yep.
But good communication collapses when emotions take over. Ooh. See my face? Ooh,
yep.
Right?
Yep. We all know that one.
We do. And that's the thing is because we're human beings, we get fear. That was, fear response. Yep. It doesn't make it right because it was not right. But I just think I'm running through my head. I can't help it. I'm like running through my head about me being a lunatic last night. But good communication really comes from when emotions do not take over and that we try to slow our breathing. I'm just giggling through this thing like I should have done all these things last night. I did it after the fact.
Well, yeah.
After I was screaming, there's going to be ticks on them. They're not treated. Oh my God. I can't help it. But it's slowing your breathing down. It's taking the pause, lowering your voice.
Yeah.
I'm just giggling.
Well,
delaying speaking.
Did you?
No.
Okay, yeah.
I'm laughing because I did none of my advice on this. I reacted all the way through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't even know where.
It was an intense fear.
Oh God, it was. I was like, all I could envision was like a coyote would get them. I mean, they're babies. They're
emotion and fear is the brain, and the brain is the barking dog on the leash.
It was the bear in the back of the cave moment of like, oh my God.
You're not the dog on the leash. You get to rise above that reaction. Exactly. But again, it's not linear and it's not always easy to do.
And we're not perfect,
especially instantly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And in this, and it's different when you're in a controlled environment of a communication like conversation that is coming versus a communication that's instantaneous like that. So when we have emotion, good communication collapses.
You had a bear in the back of the yard. You didn't have a bear in the back of the cave.
I know. Yeah. So regulation emotionally is a communication skill.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not linear. Most of the time it's not linear, but in this case, which I'm using, mine's a bad example just because it's a reactive situation. But in general, slowing your breathing down, really lowering your voice or being calm, delaying a response, a text, a phone call, right? Whatever it is, giving yourself time to breathe and think about
a breath. Yeah.
Avoid trying to win. Avoid trying to get over and be like, I know, I get, like dismissive. Stop doing that because regulating your nervous system settles the environment. It doesn't kill your cat upstairs when you scare the crap out of them into a heart attack. This is such a great show, huh?
Well, regulation should be a base skill.
Oh, please.
No, I mean,
I'm saying, oh, please. Yes, it should, but that's not.
Well, And again,
we're
nothing's linear.
Right. Well, we're socially, in our youth, before we're like 6 years old, we're socially unregulated.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
We are so socially unregulated by the time we hit like our kindergarten years. We are like, look at 3-year-olds. Oh,
I know, but a basic adult skill is not running around the room like your hair's on fire.
You mean like I was? Is that what you're saying?
Well, yeah, and again, not linear. No one's perfect with it all the time.
Kevin, thank you for turning the heat up. It's much warmer. Oh, it's so much better. Thank you. So it is not linear. So, but
it's a daily challenge in many instances.
It is a daily challenge. So this is how you would handle that, right? And so, because people would say, well, how do I emotionally regulate? And this is what I did. I was so much better last night. And I will tell you why.
Okay.
Is because I use this skill. I practice my own skills, and I do. So for that hot second, and it was really for a very hot second, it was mostly because I found the cats really quickly, because he didn't have to be on a plane. But it was because it's because
so the cat thing regulated itself because you found the cats.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's also because I upgraded in my head my internal dialogue. I had to be internally dialoguing because even though I'm sounding like it went on for a long time, I was reactive really quickly.
Yeah.
And then I pulled it in and did internal screaming, and then I self-regulated down into an internal dialogue that was healthier. Like I was externalizing. I'm using my example because it's easier. I was externalizing. Oh, there's my alarm. I was externalizing the same way I was speaking internally. And what I did was I internalized what I should be doing and not saying out loud.
Yeah.
I put back in my head bubble because it was unnecessary, because my inner voice was being harsh, mean. It was being fear-driven. It was being defensive. It was being expectant of perfectionism. And it was agitated.
Here's what you did.
Oh, here we go.
You accepted that the door was open.
Yes.
And moved on to finding the cats.
Yes.
And once you moved on to finding the cats, that diffused the situation.
It did.
Too many people would sit there and fight the reality and just have the fight over the door being open. It's open.
Right. And I
deal with it.
And that's in 25 years ago, and literally 25 years ago, that's what I've learned over me doing this program that I've designed to help people, is I would have been doing that. Instead, it was
fighting
like
reality.
And that's my top skill, right? I was like, accept the reality. What is the reality here? The door was open. I can't do anything about it. We have to move.
Right.
We're on to Cincinnati.
We're on to yes.
We are on
perfect.
We got to figure out like what to do, because if you can't move that forward and you can't get into that emotional regulation space to be able to do that, then you're to have your internal dialogue go into that direction. You'll never find the cats. Right. So,
and all your energy is wasted on a reality that can't change.
Exactly. Because
the door is open.
Exactly. And you're leaking into a conversation that then is unproductive because it has no point anymore, because that's not the point. The facts are the door is open, but the facts are now that's over here because now we have a different issue.
Yep.
And it's being able to, again, assess what is needed in the moment. Right. So, so I self-corrected. That's what you would do. You would self-correct, right? Be more curious about the situation, not like, oh, why did you leave the door? But more about like, okay, got to find the cats, right?
Yep.
Right. Or whatever. And then take accountability, which I did without feeling like I was, I owned it. I was like, well, because I came downstairs after I settled and said, so yeah.
Sorry, I reacted.
Yeah. Because I was like, I could have been like humiliated and felt really shameful and felt bad about it internally, and then been defensive, which people do, right?
Yep.
Like, well, I had a justification for feeling. No, I overreacted.
Yep.
I didn't really overreact.
No.
I reacted appropriately, but I overreacted with my intensity.
You deregulated.
I did. I dysregulated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So instead of saying I'm a terrible person and I did an awful
thing. By the way,
thing,
it happens.
It does. Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Instead of saying I'm a terrible person and this is terrible, I said to myself, this happens. I'm healthier because I quickly regained myself. And 25 years ago, I'd probably still be like screaming this morning about that, even though.
Yeah, how many people you know would still be fighting about the door being open last night?
Oh God.
Yeah.
So many people. It dropped. It like totally dropped last night after that.
Well, you have a conversation where you're more in control. It's like, can you just be careful about the door?
Right. Well, that's why when I yelled out the door, out my car this morning, I was laughing, and he gave me a thumbs up and he was smiling. I was like, yeah, make sure you shut the doors. And
but many of the couples we know would still be going at this a week later.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not necessary.
Yeah. It's not productive either.
No, and we were able to joke. We're able to
because then it's no longer about the door; it becomes personal,
right? And then it's about that person being whatever. Yeah. That you vilify them for, right? And so
it evolves into the person leaving the door open on purpose.
Yes,
because they're an idiot.
Yes, all the things, right? But instead, all this leads to building relational maturity, right? It's like, it's balancing, obviously some humor in this case, but also honesty. Some accountability, boundaries, empathy, and not, anger, resentment, people pleasing, control, emotional avoidance, constant, seeking assurance of, like it's about being emotionally mature and being able to do that, and practicing repair, not perfection. That's the key takeaway from a lot of this. And I'm going to speak more about this next week. I'm actually going to start wrapping up the show today because I have to be somewhere. But we'll talk more about like the practice of repair, not perfection, and able to rise, because people will often just let something, like in this example, it's over. But in general, in communication patterns and the ability to like have yourself evolve, it's people don't do repair work. They sit in, like I say, it's like the first quarter, like they do the dismissive thing, like, yep, okay, it won't happen again. And it happens again. Yep. Why? Because they don't get into the repair thing. And then they get into the whole, well, I'm not perfect. Well, no one asked you to be perfect.
Because they're too conscious of avoiding the conflict as opposed to the initial problem.
Exactly. And they're not looking at the facts, which are.
But that can often come from the degree of conflict that you hand them. Exactly. So being careful about that allows them to.
Well, because you're trying to, in order to, as a quick, like, foreseeable thing for next week is creating an environment that supports growth, not an environment that supports chaos. So relationships are often chaos loops, as we've talked about. And in order to evolve, you really have to have a growth space. Cliche this sounds, but you really have to have that in order to actually move it forward. So we'll be talking a lot about that and how to practice that daily, how to practice that in conversations. And then I can talk a little bit about attachment and some really specific styles of attachments that grow. We learn how to be attached or not attached from 0 to 6 years old. And it's based on our temperament and our parenting styles that we get and all that. But by 6 years old, we have our attachment styles, and then they play out in our relationships down the line. And oftentimes our conflictual, which many people are in, our conflictual, insecure attachments are these dismissive avoidant relationships, these fearful avoidant relationships, all these pieces that have to do with how to basically defend ourselves and not help ourselves. So we'll be talking about that more next week. So everyone, have a fabulous week in the last week of May and enjoy your weekend. And I will see you here next week to talk about communication and rising to the moment.